We're still here in a Whistler hotel room, so once again, apologies if you hear some stuff in the background. People are screaming, people are having fun, people are snowboarding and skiing. It's what it do over here in Whistler, but I hate the fact that I have to make this video. Or, I don't really have to. It's just kind of my own protocol, my own choice to do so. I hate that I'm making it because this is absolutely not what I wanted from this Montreal Canadiens team. I wanted this team to go out there in 2021, show off that all the decisions that Marc Bergevin made in the offseason were the best decisions he could have made. And for the most part, I think a good part of these decisions are showing off very well, because we have some really good top quality players on the Canadiens like Tyler Toffoli, like Josh Anderson, like Jake Allen. These are some really good guys that have come over here and have pushed the Canadiens to a team that earlier on in the season a lot of people said was unstoppable. However, this video is talking about the Montreal Canadiens because I just wanted to ask the question. Under the mask of the wins that we saw, a whole bunch of success early on, underneath all of that, at its core, are the Montreal Canadiens just kind of, I hate to use this word, but mediocre? Now, I get that it's super hyperbolic for me to make this video, and this is only for discussion, devil's advocate kind of purposes, but I just wanted to explore that idea here because I saw this thread on Twitter that I want to show over here on the YouTube channels. It is from Brian Wild, Montreal, and he posted this tweet earlier this week. Tyler Toffoli at the time of this tweet's publication had 16 goals on the year. Anderson had 11. You think it's rough now? Where would the Montreal Canadiens be without these two? And that really started to get me going, Started to think about what exactly it is the Canadiens have shown in their identity this season, aside from the Toffolis and the Andersons going out there and scoring goals. We've seen some really good performances as of late from guys like Carey Price, who had to bounce back into that role because Jake Allen was out there carrying the load for him instead, but Carey Price is playing pretty well. This season, I think Toffoli and Anderson just overall have been very good highlights on the year. But you take a look at the other parts of this Canadiens team and you ask yourself, okay, this defensive core, is it really where we thought it would be? The rest of the secondary scoring, how has that been going? Nick Suzuki started off the year pretty hot, but he's been a little bit cold too. Kotkaniemi barely gets a goal every now and then. What exactly is going on here? Because the Habs have started to fall back so far in the standings that now they're a point or two away from being 5th in the North to Vancouver or to Calgary. It's a really tight race, and it wasn't like this back when the season began. Oh, but Lego, you can't just go out there and expect super consistent seasons out of everybody. And yes, that is absolutely the case here. Not everybody is going to play their best 100%. Even take a look at the North Division. That kind of replicates that sentiment quite so. Montreal was first by a lot. Now they're barely 4th. Toronto was first by a lot. Now they're just barely first. Winnipeg and Edmonton have came up there. Even Ottawa has started winning games. They've lost 2 straight in overtime or a shootout, so they're actually getting points now too. Nobody is going to be out there at 100% capacity every single night, but the fact is, the Montreal Canadiens have gone out there with some considerably consistent goal scoring from guys like Toffoli and Anderson. I get that Toffoli had that stretch after he scored like 8 goals against Vancouver, where he didn't really do much elsewhere. But he's gotten back up there. He started to score some extra goals here. Josh Anderson is still producing points as well. And so for the Canadiens, trying to think about how they would be without these two, it gets really rough, dude, because you start wondering where would the goal-scoring support come from with this Canadiens team. Jeff Petrie has been really good this season. I don't want to deny that. He's at 10 goals on the year. He has the same amount of goals as Josh Anderson. Absolutely incredible. But you take a look at the overall goal production on this squad. Toffoli's got 18. Petrie and Anderson at 11. Gallagher, he's at 11 as well. But then what do you have afterwards? You have Suzuki, Tatar, Weber, Armia, all with the same amount of goals on the year as Corey Perry. Now, Corey Perry has been a very good highlight of the Canadian season. He's honestly been one of the more kind of clutch guys in the lineup, oddly enough. But what does it say about your organization when the top guys on your team. Suzuki's supposed to be a top guy. Tatar is too. They have the same amount of goals as the fourth line extra that doesn't even really play all too much. And if you average everything out, okay, let's do 5 goals over 29 games played multiplied by 56. They're on pace for 10 goals. Multiply that out by 82. That's a 15-goal pace for like 3 of your top guys. Now, 15 goals on the year, that's not bad. But the fact is, if your top guys are getting that, there's a reason why bouncing around in the replies for this tweet right here, a lot of people are kind of turning on the Habs now. And upon reflecting on that, I was like, they kind of have a point. If you have a hockey team and you're looking to make the playoffs, okay, let's say this is the Habs without Toffoli or without Anderson. You have Jeff Petrie with the same amount of goals as Gallagher. Let's say they get 29. It's weird to see a defenseman get 30 goals nowadays, but let's say you have that. Is that enough to make the playoffs? 2 30-goal players, 5 15-goal players, and everybody else. Is it enough to make the playoffs when Phillip Danault, a guy whom you want to actually go out there as your top center sometimes, is at 2 goals on the year? He's on pace for like 4? Kotkaniemi, I'm sorry, bud. I know he has an absolute laser of a shot, but he's only got 4 goals on the year. This team was supposed to take such a big step forward, but the way things are coming together, is it really that big of a step? Would they still have been in the position to contend had they not had that Toffoli and Anderson signing? Which is why, when these guys don't score, when Carey Price is not playing Carey Price's way, when Jeff Petrie isn't getting all the goals he can from the blue line, this team starts to suffer. And on the Petrie front either, it's not like he's a perfect player. I'm talking about him as if he's scoring goals and all that, which he is, but still, he is one of the top played guys on this team. Therefore, sometimes things just don't go his way, like last night in the overtime, for example. Jeff Petrie tries to do the ballsy move out there and make the big play. It doesn't end up working out. And it's that exposition of top-end talent that the Montreal Canadiens just don't have when they're out there in overtime, that has come back to bite them so many times this season. And they suffer hard. And as a result, you have this weird streak where teams have watched tape of how they play against Vancouver, and they know how to cut the Habs off. They're a speedy team, yes, but teams know how to counteract that now. You saw how the Calgary Flames went out there, and they played against the Habs with speed and shut them down. And they did everything they could to dispel the systems that the Habs have in place, even under Ducharme and Burrows. Which is why it's so weird to think that the team that was just so dominant earlier on in the year can shift this quickly into this state of mediocrity, I guess. Which is why the title actually just implies, hey, are the Habs just mediocre? Because I don't want to say bad. Not bad for sure. Just the way this team has been going out there and playing. The overall numbers say it. You can have a 30-goal player on your team. You can have 2. You can have 15-goal guys. I don't really think that's a bad team. It's just, is that enough? Especially under the circumstances of this current division. And don't get me wrong, it's been explored before as to whether or not the Canadiens missing out on this division's playoffs would be the ultimate step backwards, because that was the intention that Marc Bergevin had going into this season, to go out there, make the playoffs, and do that off of the back of the big names that you signed and acquired to help you out. And they have been, but the fact is you're still just barely there. Without these guys, the Canadiens were supposed to have big step-ups from all the players. Danault was in a contract year. We wanted a big season out of him. We had Nick Suzuki come in and Kotkaniemi. These were rookies, young guys. We needed to see more out of them. We needed to see Jake Evans come in here and be an absolute tank in the bottom 6. And we're just not seeing it. We're seeing this team get carried by Carey Price, 1, and the 2 goal-scoring acquisitions that the team made. So it begs the question as to how good this Habs team really is, because they're just barely on the cusp. Toffoli and Anderson were not supposed to be the force that allowed them to still stay within the bubble of making the playoffs. They were supposed to be the force that pushed the Canadiens up and beyond into a top spot. They were already supposed to be in a position where they were already contending for a spot even without these new guys, because the expectation for all the players on the team was that they would take a step forward, but where has that gone? So, man, we've talked about 10 minutes for this already. You know what? Let's just leave the topic at hand here. So, talk to me in the comments what you think. Do I have a point here? Are the Canadiens just still a pre-existing mediocre core at its heart, masked by the extraordinarily good performances by 2, maybe 3 new acquisitions on this team, as well as goaltending by Carey Price as of late, that paints them in a picture of being a little bit better than that mediocrity could suggest, objectively speaking? Let me know in the comments if I'm right, I'm wrong, whatever. I'd love to see your opinions, because this is just a very subjective topic, isn't it? We're going to have so many people talking about this, so tell me what you think in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed this video. Trolls and I. Again, I love the Habs. They are my second favorite team. I want this team to do well. It's just that they're not at the moment. So I'll leave you with that, and bye.